A 64-year-old patient suddenly becomes unresponsive and pulseless on the monitor showing ventricular fibrillation. After starting high-quality CPR and delivering the first shock, what is the most appropriate next action according to ACLS priorities? A. Immediately check for a pulse for 30 seconds. B. Resume CPR immediately for 2 minutes. C. Administer atropine first. D. Begin transcutaneous pacing. Answer, B. After delivering a shock for a shockable rhythm such as ventricular fibrillation, ACLS guidelines emphasize immediately resuming high-quality CPR without pausing for a pulse check. Continuous compressions help maintain coronary and cerebral perfusion pressure. Checking the pulse right after a shock wastes valuable time and may reduce survival chances. Medications like epinephrine or antiarrhythmics are given later within algorithm timing, not before resuming CPR. During management of symptomatic bradycardia, a patient remains hypotensive and confused after receiving the initial recommended medication dose. What is the next best intervention? A. Stop all monitoring and observe. B. Prepare for transcutaneous pacing. C. Give sodium bicarbonate immediately. D. Defibrillate at 200 J. Answer, B. If atropine or initial treatment fails to improve symptomatic bradycardia, ACLS recommends transcutaneous pacing or infusion of dopamine or epinephrine. Persistent hypotension and altered mental status indicate unstable bradycardia. Defibrillation is inappropriate because the rhythm is slow rather than chaotic. Continuous monitoring and escalation to pacing ensures maintenance of adequate cardiac output. A patient with narrow complex tachycardia is stable but has persistent heart rate of 180 bpm. Vagal maneuvers fail. What is the most appropriate medication? A. Adenosine rapid 4 push. B. Epinephrine infusion. C. Atropine bolus. D. Magnesium sulfate. Answer, A. Stable narrow complex supraventricular tachycardia is treated first with vagal maneuvers, followed by rapid 4 push of adenosine. Adenosine temporarily blocks AV node conduction and may terminate reentrant rhythms. Epinephrine would worsen tachycardia, atropine increases heart rate, and magnesium is primarily used for torsades de pointes. Correct rhythm identification ensures proper pharmacologic therapy. During cardiac arrest with asystole confirmed in 2 leads, what is the most appropriate immediate action? A. Deliver immediate defibrillation. B. Continue CPR and give epinephrine. C. Perform synchronized cardioversion. D. Start amiodarone infusion. Answer, B. Asystole is a non-shockable rhythm. Management focuses on high-quality CPR and administration of epinephrine every 3 to 5 minutes while identifying reversible causes. Defibrillation and cardioversion are ineffective because there is no organized electrical activity to reset. Antiarrhythmics such as amiodarone are reserved for shockable rhythms like ventricular fibrillation or pulseless VT. A patient with acute coronary syndrome shows ST elevation on ECG. What is the most important early medication and less contraindicated? A. Immediate atropine. B. Magnesium sulfate. C. Adenosine infusion. D. Aspirin administration. Answer, D. Early aspirin administration is a cornerstone in acute coronary syndrome management because it inhibits platelet aggregation and reduces clot expansion. Providing aspirin early improves survival outcomes. Atropine and adenosine are rhythm-specific medications, and magnesium is used for certain arrhythmias rather than myocardial infarction management. Early recognition and pharmacologic treatment reduce myocardial damage. A post-cardiac arrest patient achieves ROSC but remains unresponsive. Which intervention is most appropriate to improve neurologic outcome? A. Immediate discharge from ICU. B. Stop oxygen therapy. C. Rapid defibrillation again. D. Targeted temperature management. Answer, D. Targeted temperature management is recommended for comatose adult patients after ROSC to help preserve brain function and reduce neurologic injury. Maintaining controlled body temperature helps limit metabolic demand and inflammatory responses. Defibrillation is unnecessary without a shockable rhythm, and stopping oxygen therapy would compromise tissue oxygenation during recovery. During pulseless electrical activity arrest, what is the primary focus besides CPR and epinephrine? A. Immediate cardioversion. B. Identification of reversible causes. C. Adenosine administration. D. Transvenous pacing. Answer, B. In pulseless electrical activity exists without effective circulation. Management centers on high-quality CPR, epinephrine, and aggressive search for reversible causes such as hypoxia, hypovolemia, acidosis, or tension pneumothorax. Cardioversion is ineffective without a pulse, and adenosine or pacing do not address underlying reversible conditions that often trigger PEA. A patient with irregular wide complex tachycardia becomes unstable with hypotension. What is the most appropriate immediate action? A. Synchronized cardioversion. B. Vagal maneuvers only. C. Observe for spontaneous conversion. D. Give atropine. Answer, A. Unstable tachycardia requires immediate synchronized cardioversion regardless of rhythm classification. Hypotension indicates compromised perfusion. Delaying treatment increases risk of cardiac arrest. Vagal maneuvers are insufficient in unstable patients, atropine increases heart rate, and observation is unsafe when the patient shows signs of hemodynamic instability. During CPR, capnography shows EtCO2 suddenly rising from 10 mm of mercury to 40 mm of mercury. What does this most likely indicate? A. Poor quality compressions. B. Return of spontaneous circulation. C. Need to stop CPR immediately. D. Equipment malfunction. Answer, B. A sudden sustained increase in end-tidal CO2 during CPR often indicates return of spontaneous circulation due to improved cardiac output and perfusion. Capnography is a valuable monitoring tool for both CPR quality and ROSC detection. Providers should check for a pulse and evaluate rhythm when EtCO2 rises significantly, rather than assuming equipment failure. A patient with Torsades de pointes is pulseless. After defibrillation and CPR, which medication is recommended? A. Magnesium sulfate. B. Atropine. C. Dopamine. D. Lidocaine infusion only. Answer, A. Torsades de pointes is a polymorphic ventricular tachycardia associated with prolonged QT interval. Magnesium sulfate stabilizes myocardial electrical activity and is first-line therapy. While defibrillation treats pulseless episodes, magnesium helps prevent recurrence. Atropine treats bradycardia, dopamine is a vasopressor, and lidocaine is not the preferred initial medication for torsades. A patient becomes suddenly hypotensive with bradycardia after inferior MI. What medication is first-line if symptomatic? A. Adenosine. B. Atropine. C. Epinephrine bolus for arrest. D. Amiodarone. Answer, B. Atropine is first-line for symptomatic bradycardia, especially in cases involving inferior myocardial infarction where vagal tone may be increased. It improves heart rate and cardiac output. Adenosine treats tachycardia, epinephrine bolus is used during arrest scenarios, and amiodarone targets ventricular arrhythmias rather than slow heart rhythms. During a code, chest compressions are interrupted frequently for rhythm analysis lasting over 20 seconds each time. What is the best corrective action? A. Continue long pauses for accuracy. B. Replace compressions with ventilation only. C. Stop compressions during entire code. D. Minimize interruptions to less than 10 seconds. Answer, D. High-quality CPR requires minimal interruptions. Pauses longer than 10 seconds significantly reduce coronary perfusion pressure and survival outcomes. Providers should prepare equipment and coordinate teamwork to limit analysis time. Continuous compressions maintain vital blood flow to the heart and brain, which is essential for successful resuscitation. A patient with acute stroke symptoms arrives within 2 hours of onset. What is the most important initial action? A. Delay imaging. B. Start amiodarone. C. Give magnesium. D. Rapid neurological assessment and CT scan. Answer: D. Early brain imaging and neurologic evaluation determine eligibility for reperfusion therapy and distinguish ischemic from hemorrhagic stroke. Time-sensitive interventions significantly improve outcomes. Medications unrelated to stroke management should not delay imaging. Rapid assessment ensures appropriate treatment decisions and prevents further neurologic damage. After ROSC, a patient has SpO2 of 100% on high oxygen levels. What adjustment is recommended? A. Maintain maximum oxygen indefinitely. B. Titrate oxygen to avoid hyperoxia. C. Stop ventilation entirely. D. Give adenosine. Answer: B. Post-ROSC care includes avoiding excessive oxygen levels because hyperoxia may worsen neurologic injury. Providers should titrate oxygen to maintain adequate but not excessive saturation. Continuous monitoring ensures optimal oxygen delivery while minimizing oxidative stress and cellular damage during the recovery phase. During unstable monomorphic ventricular tachycardia with a pulse, which therapy is most appropriate? A. Synchronized cardioversion. B. Vagal maneuvers only. C. Adenosine first always. D. Observation. Answer: A. Unstable ventricular tachycardia requires synchronized cardioversion to restore effective cardiac rhythm. Symptoms such as hypotension or altered consciousness indicate urgent intervention. While medications may be used in stable cases, electrical therapy is prioritized when instability threatens organ perfusion and survival. During CPR, what compression depth is recommended for adult patients? A. Less than 1 inch. B. At least 2 inches, 5 centimeters. C. Exactly 1 centimeter. D. Only gentle pressure. Answer: B. Adequate compression depth of at least 2 inches is necessary to generate sufficient blood flow during CPR. Shallow compressions reduce cardiac output and survival chances. Providers must allow full chest recoil and maintain correct rate and depth to optimize resuscitation effectiveness. A patient with suspected opioid overdose is apneic but has a pulse. What is the most appropriate initial action? A. Immediate defibrillation. B. Support ventilation and consider naloxone. C. Start amiodarone. D. Begin synchronized cardioversion. Answer: B. In respiratory arrest with a pulse, airway support and ventilation are the priority. Naloxone may reverse opioid effects. Defibrillation and cardioversion are inappropriate without arrhythmias. Maintaining oxygenation prevents progression to cardiac arrest and supports patient recovery. During a code, a team member gives unclear medication orders causing confusion. What ACLS team dynamic principle should be applied? A. Closed-loop communication. B. Silent teamwork. C. Independent decision-making only. D. Ignore commands. Answer: A. Closed-loop communication ensures that instructions are heard, repeated back, and confirmed, reducing errors during high-stress resuscitations. Effective teamwork and clear leadership improve efficiency, patient safety, and overall code performance by minimizing misunderstandings. Which reversible cause of cardiac arrest is associated with jugular vein distension and absent breath sounds? A. Hypoglycemia. B. Tension pneumothorax. C. Hypothermia. D. Hyperglycemia. Answer: B. Tension pneumothorax causes increased intrathoracic pressure leading to decreased venous return and cardiac arrest. Signs include distended neck veins and unequal breath sounds. Immediate decompression is required. Recognizing reversible causes rapidly can significantly improve survival outcomes. A patient with stable atrial fibrillation has rapid ventricular response but no hypotension. What is the most appropriate management approach? A. Immediate defibrillation. B. Begin CPR. C. Stop monitoring. D. Rate control with medications. Answer: D. Stable atrial fibrillation with rapid ventricular response is typically managed with rate control medications such as beta blockers or calcium channel blockers. Electrical therapy is reserved for unstable cases. Proper management focuses on symptom control and prevention of complications without unnecessary aggressive interventions. After intubation during cardiac arrest, what is the recommended ventilation rate with continuous compressions? A. 2 breaths every 5 seconds with pauses. B. 10 breaths per minute without stopping compressions. C. 30 breaths per minute. D. 1 breath every minute. Answer: B. Once an advanced airway is in place, continuous chest compressions are performed with asynchronous ventilations at about 10 breaths per minute. Excessive ventilation increases intrathoracic pressure and reduces venous return. Maintaining proper ventilation rate ensures adequate oxygenation without compromising perfusion. A patient develops symptomatic hypotension after cardioversion despite a stable rhythm. Which medication infusion may help maintain blood pressure? A. Dopamine infusion. B. Adenosine push. C. Magnesium bolus. D. Atropine only once. Answer: A. Dopamine infusion is often used for post-resuscitation hypotension to support cardiac output and maintain perfusion. Adenosine treats tachycardia, magnesium is used for specific arrhythmias, and atropine primarily addresses bradycardia. Continuous hemodynamic support is essential during post-conversion stabilization. During pulseless VT after multiple shocks and epinephrine, which antiarrhythmic medication is recommended? A. Adenosine. B. Atropine. C. Amiodarone. D. Calcium chloride for all cases. Answer: C. Amiodarone is recommended for refractory ventricular fibrillation or pulseless VT after defibrillation attempts and epinephrine. It helps stabilize cardiac electrical activity and may increase chances of successful defibrillation. Other listed drugs are not first-line antiarrhythmics for shockable cardiac arrest rhythms. A patient has severe respiratory distress with wheezing leading to cardiac arrest from hypoxia. What reversible cause category does this represent? A. Hyperkalemia only. B. Toxic overdose only. C. H's and T's, hypoxia. D. Thrombosis coronary only. Answer: C. Hypoxia is one of the critical reversible causes in ACLS algorithms. Inadequate oxygen delivery can rapidly lead to cardiac arrest. Identifying and correcting hypoxia through airway management and ventilation is essential for restoring effective circulation and preventing further deterioration. During synchronized cardioversion, failure to activate synchronization results in what potential complication? A. Delivery during T-wave causing ventricular fibrillation. B. Guaranteed successful conversion. C. Slower heart rate improvement only. D. No clinical impact. Answer: A. If synchronization is not activated, the shock may occur during the vulnerable repolarization phase, potentially triggering ventricular fibrillation. Proper synchronization ensures the shock is delivered at the correct point in the cardiac cycle, reducing risk of dangerous arrhythmias.